I'd like to take a little time to talk about tippet. What is it and what do we use it for? Well, basically that's your connection. That's your connection between your fly line and your fly. So it's very, very important to get this thing right. There's 3 different types us fly fishers use. We use copolymer, we sometimes use monofilament, but more importantly we use fluorocarbon. Now fluorocarbon's, I wouldn't say it's recent, it's been in the last few decades, but it's something that fly fishers have really embraced. At the end of the day, fluorocarbon is invisible in water. It's got a very low refractive index, so it basically goes invisible. Now if you think about that, if you're fishing flies like this buzzer on my chest here, it's there to imitate a natural insect. If that's tethered to something a different colour, which isn't fluorocarbon, which is 9 times out of 10 it's clear, the fish are going to see it. They can see it's a fake, it's not the real deal, and they're going to shy away. Hence you use fluorocarbon. The stuff's invisible in water, it's got a really good knot strength, it's got a good tensile strength as well, and it comes in a whole host of breaking strains. Now for us fly fishers, the majority of the time, we tend to use 2. And the small stuff here, the 5 pound, which is 0.17mm diameter, that's quite key. That it basically means it's quite thin. The thinner it is, the more supple it is, and the more invisible it is in water as well. Think about it that way. But this is what we use for presenting imitative nymphs, things like dialbacks, buzzers, crunchers, those kind of offerings, small stuff that look the part, that look like fish food. You can also use that for dries actually, there's a point, you can use it for dries, big stuff in a big wave. Use fluorocarbon rather than copolymer, and there's a reason behind that. Although it'll pull your fly down eventually, when you're fishing in a wave, 9 times out of 10 you're prospecting. Cast, 5 seconds, cast again, cast, 5 seconds, cast again. That fly is never on the water long enough for the fluorocarbon to pull it down. It's a good tip that. The other stuff we're going to be using is this, 8 pound, 0.21mm diameter, so a little bit thicker. Now we would use that for fishing large flies, lures if you like, lures like this. A humongous, you can see the size of that. I need something that's going to be thick enough so when I cast it into the wind I can get turnover with this large. It's not heavily weighted, but it's a weighted fly. You can see the chain beading eyes there, so I want something stiff. I also need it to be strong. I tend to fish these flies back fast. Now if you can imagine, if I'm pulling one way and a fish pulls back the other, there's only going to be one outcome, and that's a snappage. Hence you use 8 pound fluorocarbon, nice and thick. Now we talked about copolymer there. Many older generation fly fishers use copolymer when they're fly fishing on the surface, and the reason for that is copolymer will allow you to fish your flies higher in the water. So in situations where you've got a light ripple or indeed a flat calm with a single fly, I'd be looking at copolymer. Another thing we mentioned was monofilament. Very rare that we use this nowadays. However, we do use it in tapered leaders, and tapered leaders allow us to transfer energy from the fly line to the fly, deliver the fly exactly where you want it. So there you go, the 3 key components when it comes to tippet: copolymer, monofilament, but the most important one in my eyes, I'm sure many fly fishers, is fluorocarbon.